Op just had a panic attack in front of a group of people while the man yelling at her recorded it. Original by U-Turn-Dab in Our Tales from the Front Desk on the 5th of March 2023. I just had a panic attack in front of a group of people while the man yelling at me recorded it. Long time no post. And it's been great. I like to post about my most horrific moments. My therapist says writing about these moments is great for decompression, so here we are. Today was an easy day with a whopping 8 arrivals. I am a college student, so I take advantage of this time and do a whole bunch of homework. However, universe had a different plan for me. A little backstory. My manager is the worst, and within this last month she fired 2 FDAs and 2 of them quit due to her management. I just put in my 2 weeks along with another FDA. Over half of our staff is brand new and have been thrown onto desk with little to no training. One major rule of this job is we do not touch third-party advanced purchases under any circumstances. Well, a new hire did touch an ADV purchase and changed the dates for them. What happens is, the virtual credit card will only work for the previous date, not the current one. Max. Fake name for privacy even though he doesn't deserve it. Checked in and I was unable to run that VCC. He let me know that he called and changed the dates, and I immediately knew we messed up. I informed him that I was unable to check him in, and that one of our new hires gave him false information. He immediately called his wife. She screamed at me, demanded I put him in a room right now, and instructed her husband to start recording me and everything I say. I informed him that since it was our mistake, he could contact my general manager and go through the process of a refund. However, I would have to make a new reservation for him tonight and grab a new payment method. I have to commend the guy. Seems like he finally found his own voice, and he started screaming at me along with his wife via speakerphone. I was proud of him for finally speaking up for himself. But he was horrid. He stood in my lobby while a crowd of men formed around him. He called me useless while he recorded me. A 20-year-old girl. Sob. I have never been yelled at to this extent before in my life, let alone while being recorded in front of a crowd. I had called my GM 3 times, because that was the only thing that would calm him down in that moment. She never answered. I told the guy he needed to leave. I have the right to refuse anyone's service, and he refused and told me I should probably call the cops. I'm alone. When a guy says you should call the cops on him, I'm calling the cops on him. The dispatcher told me to try and get away from him. She could hear him screaming at me through the phone. Cops arrived promptly and finally separated us. I told them I wanted him trespassed, and they honored it. I heard Max yelling at the police, "Well, she has no authority over this hotel, it seems. How can she trespass me?" He also demanded to the police that they should just arrest him now. He was finally escorted off the premises. My general manager finally called me back and said I should have just comped his room, even though I'm not allowed to comp rooms. But she was understanding of my decision to trespass him. I just had an almost panic attack in front of a group of people while the man yelling at me recorded it. Awesome. Huh? This group of people, though they didn't stick up for me much, all made statements to the police officers defending me. Max was telling the police he never yelled at me, LMAO. They each came up to me and complimented how I handled things, which I laugh at because I did not handle it well. Periodically through the night they would come down and check on me, which was very nice of them. Anyways, that was my night. I think I'm going to use some of my sick hours tomorrow. Update by U-Turn-Dab in Our Tales from the Front Desk on the 10th of March 2023. Update 2. Being screamed at so bad in front of a crowd while being recorded. Here is an update nobody asked for. Almost a week ago I shared my story of being screamed at so bad the cops had to remove the man. Please read my last post before this one if you have not already. To better illustrate a timeline, that happened on a Saturday. And after that happened, there was no way I would be showing up for my Sunday shift. I needed a nice mental health day. I was able to get one of my coworkers to cover for me, even though I am not obligated to find shift coverage. And I enjoyed my self-care day. I am a part-time employee, so I had not been back for a few days after the incident happened. And when I went back on Thursday, the most outrageous thing happened to me. I was fired. My general manager told me that when I called her I sounded anxious and asked me why I took Sunday off. I let her know that I needed to decompress, because I felt a lot of anxiety after dealing with that situation by myself. She then fired me because I was too anxious during that situation, and she does not feel like this job is for me. I was transparent with her when I started working. I have been clinically diagnosed with 2 anxiety disorders, both of which I had under control, and it never affected my work performance. The situation on Saturday was handled well. Nobody was hurt, and I was still able to do my normal job duties during the incident and after. Yet, I was fired. I think anybody with anxiety or not would have felt that fear I felt if they were a young female alone such as me. Although I was quitting next week anyways. I feel humiliated. Screw that place. My goal now is to illustrate a picture of all her poor management, given over half the staff has quit, the other half fired, and I will be sending that to her boss. Maybe I will make a separate post of all the reasons she made my 6 months miserable. She has had it out for me. But right now, I am going to enjoy the idea of not going to my shift in 30 minutes. I am not the op. Marking as concluded, since her later posts mention job interviews but don't go into any more detail about this incident. Oop already put in notice. If this is in the US, genius boss just opened the door to an unemployment benefits claim for no reason. The humiliation of getting fired for anxiety issues and being recorded without her permission must have been a terrible day for Oop. I hope she complains about this to Labor Department and screws her manager's career. It's a shame she didn't get the GM's rationale in writing, because firing Oop for being anxious probably constituted disability discrimination. What do you want to bet the general manager is one of those "no one wants to work" complainers? Probably Max too. Was this guy dumb enough to post this interaction anywhere? I did a little digging, but Google is swamped with "man yells at a hotel clerk as she sobs" videos, so I couldn't find one that matches the dates. Big shots get fired all the time for how they treat hotel employees. On the clock or not, they're always representing their company. Man shrugging. I was in a similar situation on Thursday. Man screaming at me and throwing things for an extended period over a non-issue. And quickly had a half-dozen people step and try to aid me. And numerous others come by to support me later. And I was inconsolable the next day. The fact that Oop even showed up Monday having had nobody help her is frankly impressive on its own. And I hope every single other employee there knows that's how they'll be treated if they have a bad customer experience and reevaluates working there. I used to work in hotels. Always loved the people who stood there and gawked while you were treated like trash and then come forward to get their virtue signaling in so they can feel good about themselves before bed. Well, I didn't stand up for this young girl while this guy yelled at her. But I told her she did a good job. Same thing, right? I'm such a good person. It really pisses me off that a bunch of grown men stood around and watched another grown man scream at a young woman. I'm a manager. You've had to sack 2 members of staff and had 2 leave. The problem isn't the staff, the problem is you and how you're managing them. I have 2 teams I manage, and I manage both very differently. One team is mixed genders and ages, and I go full professional style with them. If this is in the US and she has documentation of her telling her manager about her anxiety disorder, then she has an amazing lawsuit on her side. And if not a lawsuit, I really hope she files a complaint with her state's Human Rights Board, or whatever it's called, the organization that handles discrimination complaints. I hope nothing but good things came of this for OP. When I went through this, because of poor documentation, my paperwork being repeatedly lost by the state, and my physical disability deteriorating to the point I couldn't prove I used to be capable of my job duties, I developed severe PTSD and can't work at all. I hope OP consults an employment attorney. She can 100% sue for wrongful termination. Former mental health care provider here. In the US, you can't fire someone for having an anxiety disorder thanks to a comprehensive piece of legislation called the Americans with Disabilities Act. The ADA is there to keep people with disabilities from being discriminated against. The act covers people with mental health disorders, and getting fired is a pretty textbook form of discrimination. I've written plenty of letters to employers outlining accommodations that my clients needed at work, with most employers being pretty receptive to my clients' needs. Unfortunately, there were 2 instances where I had to help clients get in touch with employment lawyers for behaving in a discriminatory way towards clients. It's not always an easy or straightforward process. Unless, of course, your boss is this GM and outright admits it. Dude, I can't handle being yelled at without crying, and I can't yell at other people with a ton of rage without crying. I woulda cried and called 911 the second he started to get too much for me to handle. That made me feel unsafe. Not to excuse the screaming guy, but it's amazing how everything points directly to the manager, and they'll never have the self-awareness to realize the reservation got changed because staff wasn't trained. OOP wasn't given the tools, room comp, to best handle the situation, and the person who actually could comp a room manager didn't pick up the phone. For anyone that's worked in a hotel, would the hotel be allowed to comp the guest's room for the new dates, then charge the VCC on the original dates even though they weren't actually at the hotel then? Never felt so dehumanized in a job than when I was working FD. Is anxiety a protected health issue where you can't get fired for it? Genuinely unsure, but it seems like getting fired for anxiety isn't that far from being fired for other known protected health situations. A court battle in OOP favor. Really wish people stopped using all these acronyms. I have no idea what FDA means. Googling did not help either. I don't get why former boss got mad OOP called off, especially since she got a cover. Where I've worked, nobody cared if you called off as long as you got a cover.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epicaricast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.